Craig, what about you? How many cars do you have?
5 cars.
5?
Yeah.
Why 5?
Oh, well, I suppose they're sort of collectible cars. 3 cars are similar to Matt's Ferrari, but they're not Ferraris, of course. But they're for the love of cars. And then 1 car's a Commodore wagon that I commute to business with, and a van that I used in my business as well to support motorsport events when we go to the racetrack.
And Janine, you live with your partner Craig. Let's have a look at your great loves in this discussion. Take us through those and tell us how many cars you have.
That's one of my Mitsubishi GTO Gallants. I have 3 of those. That one is basically restored, and I have 2 more which are in various stages of restoration. So that's one of my projects that I'm going to concentrate more on this year.
And will you hang on to them all when they're restored?
Yeah, I might sell one of them off just for space. I think I'm getting to the stage where actually running out of space is more than anything. Can I have so many parts?
So how many cars altogether do you have?
There's 9. We have 9 between
You have 9 between you?
Yes.
Why? Why 9?
Well, 4 of them are classic
7 days.
GTOs.
There's 7 days in a week, and you have
they're
one for every
going up
day.
in value.
One for every day,
and
plus...
there's a couple that don't go at any one time, so you...
Sorry, you were going to say, Craig?
Oh, well, they're gaining value being that rare classic car, so we've got 4 of them, but we'll sort of end up with not as many as we got now when we're finished.
But you're passionate about the car, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Terry Tamminen in Los Angeles, you were the architect of Californian Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger's plan, which made that state the greenest in the United States. Is there anything you would like to say to these people about their love affairs with their cars?
Well, I'd say, first of all, that there's nothing wrong with the cars themselves. It's the fuel that they're driving on, and that's not something that your guests have much control over. I would say to Matt, though, he doesn't need to spend $750,000 on his next boy toy. It could be the Tesla Roadster, which is an electric car that's made right here in California, sells for about $100,000, and in speed tests beat that Ferrari and every other production sports car on the market today from 0 to 60 and in the top speed. So his next car could be a clean one.
What's the future, though, for the cars that the people here tonight and the people listening at home know and love? What are the threats facing the car at the moment?
Well, certainly the biggest threats are the fuel that they're running on. We are going to run out of petroleum, and we're certainly going to have price spikes and problems getting petroleum because of competition around the world. It's creating greenhouse gases and global warming and air pollution that is harming the lungs of ourselves and our kids. So I think those days are numbered.
Now, even your former boss, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's known for his environmental policies, had to be tackled over his Hummer, didn't he? What happened with that?
If there's nothing wrong with the vehicle, it's the way we use it. What Arnold did was to prove that point. He converted his Hummer to run on hydrogen.
And how difficult and how expensive was that?
Because it was a one-off, it certainly cost more than it would if it were in production, but it's still an internal combustion engine. It's the same engine. They had to change the tank and, of course, the fuel lines, but you can put hydrogen in it now at 30 stations, fueling stations here in California, and so it really only cost a few $1,000s to change out the fuel tank and adjust the engine to run on that fuel.
How urgent do you think it is, Terry, to address some of these issues like the availability of oil, pollution, all the things that we're concerned about, greenhouse gas emissions in relation to vehicles?
I think it's extremely urgent for 2 reasons. Obviously, the environmental one, as you mentioned, the issue of sea level rise and global warming impacts across the world. But also, as I mentioned, the particulate matter that gets into the lungs of our children and literally steals their breath. I wrote a book about that subject called Lives Per Gallon, The True Cost of Our Oil Addiction. But it's also an economic threat because we are running out of oil. And so I don't think any of us in the United States or in Australia want to wait until it's hard to get and we're sitting in our Ferraris in long lines around the block at the petrol station.
Matt?
I'll make my own. I'll run it on methanol or alcohol.
So you'll stick to your guns. You won't go for the alternative that's on offer?
There'll always be Ferraris and, the electric car that a gentleman's talking about. How many Formula One races has it won? And that's what people buy. Well, they buy a name.
So there's your pushback, Terry. How do you deal with that?
Fair enough. I think you will see Ferraris and other car companies doing this. I drove for 6 weeks, just a couple of months ago. For 6 weeks, I was driving BMW's 7 Series, their most expensive, luxurious sedan, powered by liquid hydrogen. And they intend to put it into a race car and have hydrogen-powered races. You know, if hydrogen can take us to the moon, which is the fuel that took us to the moon and back, I think it can take us for a Sunday drive that even Matt would enjoy.
I was in Munich in October last year, and they were driving hydrogen cars as their company cars. And OK, it's all very good for the publicity, but a 6-litre V12 gets 142 kilowatts, and as a fast car, well, my lawnmower goes faster. OK, Vanessa, what do you think, listening to this? So are you interested in alternatives, or do you want to stick with what you've got to?
I'd have to see it first. I have to see it to believe it.
Let's get on to petrol prices, because, Terry, you've just written a book about the cost of America's addiction to cars and to oil. We've heard a lot of debate about this idea of peak oil. How long do you think it is before we run out of oil?
We're seeing breakdowns in the supply chain, whether it's tankers or pipelines or at the refineries themselves, that are causing periodic interruptions and shortages in places around the world, certainly here in California. We've experienced that. So I think we're 3 to 5 years away from seeing periodic shortages and interruptions in supply, and certainly not more than 20 years left of the petroleum joyride in general.
And how high do you think petrol prices could go?
I would say that within the next 3 years, you'll see them triple from whatever they are today in your country and certainly here in the United States.
Sorry, I just want to pull you up there. Triple in the next 3 to 5 years, petrol prices.
Yes, I would not be surprised by that at all.
Frank Topham, do you agree with that? You're from Caltex. I know that your company recently said I think it was $3 a litre in the next decade, but this is more than that.
Well, Jenny, I think directionally Terry's right. Prices are going to go up. We don't know when, but we suggested that a plausible scenario was $3.34 at some time in the next decade, and we wanted people to start thinking about that.
John Kay, I know this is a particular interest of yours, this issue. I wonder what you think these kind of predictions are going to mean for Australia and for Australians.
Well, it depends what we do. If we maintain our current vulnerability to oil prices, it's more than just what happens at the petrol pump. It goes through our entire economy. It's going to push up food prices in particular. And it's going to increase almost all goods and services delivered within our economy. On the other hand, if we start working now flat out to reduce our vulnerability to oil prices, we can salvage most of the economy, but that takes a substantial redirection of investment away from motorways and away from motor vehicles into public transport.
Craig, is this going to affect these predictions? Are they going to affect the choices you make and your partner makes in terms of cars?
Oh, well, when you're addicted to driving, I suppose that you're still going to do it, aren't we? Racing fuel now costs $5.50, $6 a litre, and I run my car on normal 98 pump, so if it's at $5 a litre to take it out on Sunday and race it at the track, well, I'll still keep doing it because of the enjoyment and thrill I get out of driving the car.
And the enjoyment and thrill, Janine, I think you've described as a disease that runs in your family.
It's a hereditary
right?
gene, I think. It's passed down. That's how I sort of, my father used to race bikes, my brother raced bikes, my mum has got a collection of old cars, so it's sort of hereditary.
But you've still got those 9 cars sitting...
Oh, we don't drive all of them at once.
All of them at once, yeah, fair enough. Leilani, what about you? Let's have a look at your car. Tell me how important it is to you.
I love my car. Ever since I saw that first ad on the TV for the Monaro Game Over ad, I wanted one. I had 4 children at the time, younger children, so I couldn't really, it wasn't, viable for me, but I had 3 Nissan Patrols and then finally got my dream car and I wouldn't give it up.
So you got the car once the kids were off your hands?
Basically, yes.
Would the sort of petrol prices that we're hearing about here stop you from using it, change your behaviour?
I don't think it'd stop me from using it. I think I'd probably have to plan it out more and maybe drive it a bit less, but
See, I find this fascinating. You're all going to hang on to these cars. You love these cars so much, you're going to hang on to them no matter how expensive they are to run. You'd adjust other parts of your life.
That's right.
To hang on to that car.
Yes. I would.
Okay, coming up, we're going to talk about our everyday dependence on cars and the hidden danger they pose to our health. Don't go away.